I've spent 8 years down here and I've watched it change and grow and become more modern, because it has changed a lot, Dorset. I'm looking forward to the next 15 years of turning it into a jewel of what England has to offer. We're very lucky. The coastline is stunning. The people are very friendly, very welcoming. I'm not a local, I'm an outsider by everybody's standards still. I think you have to be born and die before you're a local. It's just one place you should visit really before you die. I became a photographer through an accidental birthday present, which was bought more for my husband than for me, but I became completely immersed in photography after that, once I realised what digital cameras were able to do. And slowly over the last 3 years I've started to build a little business that fits around my family, photographing the Jurassic coastline and all the places around, because there's loads, and basically having a nicer way of living and bringing my children up in a nicer environment and being happy, I suppose, in Dorset. It started off as coastal, really for me, because I didn't know the coastline very well when I started. I'd only been living down here for a few years and I wasn't the biggest walker in the world, which I am now. So I did all the coastlines to start with and really learn about the rocks and the geology and the history and what the cliffs were about, why were we getting landslides, and what the prognosis is, really, to know whether it was is it worth keeping on photographing this, or is it all going to be gone in 5 years and there's nothing left. I have noticed dramatic changes in our small part of the coastline in the last 3 years, that they are falling a lot more regularly now, which is worrying from a photographer's point of view. I don't know where my subjects are going next. The view we've got at the moment is West Bay, and we're looking towards East Cliff, which, if you carry on into the distance, takes you up onto the Chesil Bank and towards Portland, and it's part of the heritage coastline that we work on a regular basis. It's a set of very unusual rocks. There's only 2 places in the country that these type of rocks come to the surface and people are able to see them. One is on the Jurassic coastline here and the other one is up towards Norfolk, and they're yellow and ridged to the point that it doesn't matter what time of day you look at them, every time you look at them they're a different colour and a different shade and a different texture. They're quite brittle rocks, they do fall quite regularly, so it's always changing down here. We had the big storm that came through yesterday, so it's still quite stormy. It's lovely though, because the waves are bringing all the foam in, and so it's making a really, really amazing shoreline of the foam drawing back and the waves coming in, so it's absolutely glorious. And we've got the sun shining, which is stunning, which makes all the colours look a lot better. I like anything with atmosphere, attitude. It doesn't have to be dramatic. We are very lucky around here. Just the light, when the sun comes through the clouds and hits the golden cliffs down at West Bay, it's almost like they sparkle. And at sunsets, you can be sat down there for an hour taking photographs. Every 10 minutes you could take a different photograph, and it could be a different night because the light changes. Especially when storms blow through, and the next day, the clearness and the cleanness of the light. I think that's what comes through on a lot of our photographs. It's what I remember. It's the sparkling, dazzling light that I want to produce, because it's what people see. Yes, we get hugely dramatic sunsets and we've got beautiful foreground to put in front of them if we can all get in the right place at the right time, but the light is very dazzling. Normally I begin by, we have a walk, normally just have a wander for 10, 15, 20 minutes and start to look at angles and see what you think looks best, whether it's a wide angle shot where you want to get as much in as you can, especially on cloudy days. That's wonderful because you can get the dramatic of the cloudy sky against the yellow of the cliffs is just delightful. But sometimes if the sky isn't anything special, then to drop the camera down so you get rid of as much sky as you can and then really concentrate on the sea, and hoping that if it's grey and horrible, then it's ideal for black and white because you can get the contrasts. But if it's a really bright day, then to do a really nice, colourful shot with the sea as well involved in it is just magic, really. With the cameras that we use, normally what I do is I find an angle that I like, something that interests you, otherwise it gets a bit boring. So with a seascape like this today, because the sea is so big, Ideally, with a palish blue sky like we've got, because of it being the wrong time of year technically to take a photograph, you would need a polarizer on just to make the blue come up that bit more blue. So to set it up, you look down the camera, pull the camera lens in and out, find something you like.
For me, taking a photograph, it is about being in the moment, having time to breathe and smile at something and thinking, come on clouds, come on sun, out come on, bit more, as you stood there hiding under a pier in the force 9 gale waiting for the clouds to go over like we did about 3 weeks ago. And it was just brilliant because that's what it's all about, running around on a beach like a 10-year-old again. And other times it's about wrapping up to Eskimo proportions in the middle of 4 o'clock in the morning and it's dark and it's cold and you're traipsing off to go and get the sunrise. It's a way of life. It's a way of slowing down and enjoying what I've got around me. And that was a big thing that I wanted when I moved down here, was to enjoy what I've got, me and my kids, and that was really good.
Definitely, when you're looking down a camera lens, I don't really think anything short of an earthquake would move you from what you're doing. You do have to remember that the safety aspects of living next to the coastline here, it is a dangerous place to be. The tides do come in very, very quickly, and the steepness of the cliffs means you haven't got a very ready exit strategy. So you do have to be extremely careful. But with that comes the fact that if you can pick the best day when the tide's at its lowest, you can get to places where normally lots of people wouldn't even dream of going because they don't know what the tides are doing enough to dare to walk out that far. So you can get some very, very unusual stuff. And walking this coastline when you're completely on your own and you've walked a long way out, it actually does get quite eerie. But it is fantastic. You really do get to enjoy the seascape of what it is with nobody else around you, which is quite a privilege really these days. So just putting the lens in and out so that you can try and compose a shot and changing it from portrait to landscape to see what you've got. Again, there's lots and lots of footsteps in the sand today, so you can use that as your lead-in line.
We have got the most beautiful countryside around us. I mean, I would love to visit Ireland. I would love to visit Yorkshire. I want to do England first and then we'll go travelling once the kids are a lot older. But in the meantime, I really do want to explore once I've finished Dorset, once I've got this completely finished, because it's still got so much to hold. Like I say, the countryside is the most fantastic place to be, and with a camera you're just so lucky because you can luckily turn it into a living.
So really it's waiting for the sunlight to come out and hit the cliffs so you've got a nice view and then having a go.